right, let's get her going here. We close out the opening week of the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, pushing all the right buttons. Derek Brandeo, Jake the Snake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours as we open up with the Toronto Maple Leafs and our Leaf edition of our hour. Luke Fox will join us in about 30 minutes. And then at the top of the hour, our national show. Didn't think it would happen this early, but we're getting Doug MacLean to officially kick off the Rails Friday.
Crazy. I thought he would be in Portugal or something.
I don't. I think he's ready to go somewhere. I'm just not sure where, but we'll see what kind of mood he's in. We've given him all summer. We haven't really bothered him at all. So he should be in a good mood.
Should he?
Yeah.
Have you met him before?
Yeah, that's a good point. Something's bothering him today for sure.
Yeah.
Something.
I think our listeners are hoping he's in a bad mood.
He is at his finest when he is perturbed by something.
Jason or Justin, whatever your name is.
What's funny is that was like year 3 of the show. That wasn't the first year we did the show.
Yeah. Who was it that called you Jason too?
Who was it? Who wasn't it? Most people.
Simmer did it for the first year. There's been some people who've done it for a while.
In wardrobe at Sportsnet, there's Jason Bourne is above my suits. I just let it go now. I've accepted my alter ego.
Well, wherever you are, Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus, downloading us maybe a little later on in your day on any podcast or catching us on YouTube. We are glad you are aboard.
Yes.
Last night, Justin and I provided excellent analysis of a Toronto Maple Leaf 2-0 win. Also, David Amber and Elliot Friedman were there too.
Baseball, boys. Sorry, I didn't see it.
Detroit played the worst hockey game I've ever seen a team.
Oh my God!
Yeah, they listen. I mean, we can certainly discuss a little bit of that, but I got to just say, first and foremost, with a Leaf lineup that looked anything but what we've been used to seeing over the last few years, I thought those kids played awfully hard.
They worked. Give the Leafs credit. They did what they could do. They worked their bags off, which I forget if I'm allowed to say or not. But
No, you're not.
I'm not. Okay. They worked
Scrotum.
hard. They worked their hearts.
Scrotum is the right word.
Oh, now we have to drop the drop. All right. Well, they worked hard is the point. And they got the win. You know, when we sat there in the room between periods or going into periods, we'd say, who can we highlight? Who's looked good? It's preseason. You're not looking to call people bad. Who's looked good? Wasn't a ton to choose from. Nick Robertson has the last 5 Leaf goals in the preseason, which pretty good for a guy on the fringes of making the team going into the camp.
He has the last 5.
The last 5, they won 2-1 against Montreal. Yeah. He scored them both. They won 2-0 against Detroit. He scored them both, and he scored the last goal of the game before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's not a bad run.
That's impressive.
I'm going to say he's going to break camp as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Pretty safe bet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
not at practice.
Give him
day to day.
Give him full credit.
I saw your tweet that you're shocked.
Yeah, give him full credit. And also, give the Leafs full credit here, because what looked like a diminishing asset to the point where I don't even know a while ago if you could give this guy away, it's a much different look here. So we do know he's going to start the season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We just don't know if he's going to finish the season with the Toronto Maple Leafs, or he would even be in a position to be in the starting lineup during the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right.
But at least that guy is a commodity right now.
He's done his part. Sam's 2 tweets about Nick Robertson after he scores like the 5th goal. The first one is, is this not the perfect time to trade him due to max trade value? And the other one after he is hurt is shocker about Nick Robertson being hurt.
Was social media all over you on that?
No, listen,
it's a shared skepticism with Leaf Nation.
There's something I've learned over the summer. I am perceived as a brat I'm perceived as a
Oh,
media
you're
man.
so naughty.
Like people really think of me as mainstream media, not a fan anymore, which does
That's
hurt.
actually, I hated that
It
transition.
hurts. It hurts because I am a
sucks.
true fan at heart, but like
But
a lot
now
of the
people
people
see
I
think
won't
media.
allow you to go mainstream.
No, but like
I will
people
not allow it.
on the X machine, they view me as that. I just think that with Nick Robertson, have we not seen like this exact same thing like 2 years, 3 years with him in preseason?
Not this good.
But like pretty good. Like he's had moments over preseasons where it's like been undeniable, and the one where when did they bring up Malgin instead of him? What year was that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of all these years blend together, but he was undeniably great in that preseason, and they didn't bring him up then. He's really good. He's an excellent preseason player. He really is. But I said the tweet about the trade thing because if you're going to think about it, would his value ever be higher than it is right at this very moment?
Yeah.
When he was 18
Yes,
years old?
exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And
When he's coming off
hey,
at a 55 goal year.
Don't feel too bad because when I suggested they trade him for Sam Bennett,
Oh, boy.
was it Twitter back then?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
still Twitter.
Buried me.
Yeah. I remember
Buried
that.
me.
I remember that.
Sam Bennett.
I wasn't part of that. I was like, that's a good idea. They should do that.
80% of them, not a chance. You're giving up Nick Robertson for Sam Bennett.
Do you think
The
Leaf fans would have
experts.
liked Sam Bennett?
Oh, my.
I don't know if they would have liked him as a Leaf or not.
What's he, a winger? But could they use a good winger like him?
Yeah,
Listen,
well,
first of all, you're
maybe.
still coming out of
Maybe.
you're coming out of training camp where everybody's in love with their own players. So we're going to see some movement, I think, with the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, there's nothing really of significance, I would think, that would lend that there'd be any type of significant trade in those first
No, everyone
week
wants to
to
see their
10
own
days.
guys. Everyone thinks their own guys
Yeah.
are going to have this internal growth and become
Yeah. But
rocket
to
ship
Sam's
stars.
point, and I think I made this the other, what is going to change now moving forward? Can Nick still score 15, 20 goals at 10 or 11 minutes if, in fact, it starts looking
Yes.
like the ice time is going to be allocated much like it has in the last few years?
He scored 14 in 10 or 11 minutes last year. So, yes, he can do that. And I'd say he's a year older and probably a bit better. The only question for Robertson for me isn't any of this stuff. It's can he just not get hurt? Yesterday,
But that's that's not now. Well, that's
Right.
always been the case.
And you
He's
can't-
had some injuries.
you can't really make decisions on a guy based on we think he's going to get hurt until it's really bad. But the Leafs made that decision on Mason Marchment, who I brought up the other day. They traded him because they didn't think he could stay healthy. That was 100% the reason. They thought that just this guy wasn't going to be able to stay in the lineup, and now he makes $4 or $5 million a year for Dallas. So, Robertson has ugly track record for injury so far. Hopefully, this is nothing serious.
The
No.
coach alluded to the fact that because I think Yarncroc, McCabe, and him all missed practice today, and he doesn't seem too concerned about injuries ever. So maybe this is something we're learning about Berube.
Aaron Kroc, okay?
They
Can
a-
he not be
they
hurt
asked
all the
him,
time?
and he's like, "That's nothing serious."
Yeah.
On all three.
But on
So-
Robertson, it wasn't anything that looked overly
no,
different
he got
than we
his
see.
elbow against the glass and it got pushed in.
And he
so
got
a little-
he got jammed up against the glass.
Yeah.
But
Okay, yeah.
do you worry about
Yes.
putting him in a position of heavy hockey down the stretch and whether or not he could sustain that on a fairly regular basis?
I don't necessarily agree. I think it's Elliott always says there's guys who get you there and there's guys who get you through or something about playoffs. I don't know who it is that says that. And I don't necessarily agree with that. But Robertson pretty clearly seems like a guy who gets you there.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of games where you're going to, throughout the regular season, to get to the playoffs, where you're going to need Nick Robertson's goal scoring. Is he going to be
I
contributing in the
actually
playoffs? Who
Their
knows?
core sleeps so much on bad teams. Robertson be those every time you play Columbus, Montreal, Chicago, put him on the second line and first power play unit and let him get a goal and an assist, and off we go.
We've got a Craig Berube clip on Nick Robertson. Like, don't blink.
It's
Is this a don't blink
so.
clip?
I will say, okay, a little update on the availabilities of Berube. Spoke for 5 minutes today
Whoa.
at practice.
Is that a new record?
That's got to be
That's
up there.
350% off yesterday.
He was a little bit more talkative today. Although there was the one thing about the William Nylander at center where he kind of was going back and forth with Mark Masters. Like, I don't even know why we're still talking about this. I don't know. It's like, oh,
You don't?
It's like, well, get ready to talk about it more.
Settle in.
Yeah. So, we'll go to Berube on Robertson from today at practice.
Not even the goals so much. Like, obviously, that's huge. He's a goal scorer, and he's finishing, which is great. But it's the work ethic and the details, the defense. You know, he's done, like this goal last night is a typical example where he's a low guy coming back in our zone, knocks a guy off a puck, makes a play, and then, you know, advances up the ice and gets a goal. So those are the type of things that impress me.
Can I interpret that?
Please do.
Yeah, that's the type of goal that you would never see under Sheldon Keefe. But since I've been here and I implemented defense and straight lines, now that's the goal that Nick Robertson can score.
A little self-back pat there.
Sure, why not? I would.
Yeah. He came all the way back. He was on DeBrincat, and then he out-muscled Alex DeBrincat, someone his own size, which was great. And great stamina, too. He had hit Sherrod all the way down the ice, came back and made that play, went all the way back. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. I feel we've spent way too much preseason talking Robertson. We should stop right now.
I mean, the thing is,
I know it's my fault. I'm not saying it's
not your fault.
I mean, you wrote an article.
I'm aware.
We got 10 shows without a Leaf game. What do you want to talk about?
You think Austin Matthews is going to be on the team?
Well, has anyone mentioned Matthews?
No.
Like, has anyone even mentioned him this year?
You think he's going to be on the team?
Yeah,
He's going to make it?
He's a good shot.
Going to break camp?
Yeah, he might.
Well, if we're excited about Robertson, wait till we get to Liljegren.
Oh, this is my other hobby horse.
Yeah.
Or should we sneak in Stolarz' effort?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's bright spot it.
Okay, so watching him, I mean, I've watched him the last, little while, and especially in Florida, but he looked like a giant to me in the net last night. He's
a freak.
Big man.
He's a lot of goalie.
I dare you to find a hockey club on the planet with 4 bigger depth goalies than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
What's Hildeby's 6'7", isn't he? Stolarz 6'6" at least. And they're monsters. What's Woll? Woll's almost 6'3".
Yeah.
Murray's huge too. You're right. They're monsters. Yeah, I mean, what did you think last night? Like he only had to make a few challenging saves. He made those 2 road hockey glove windmill saves in Tarasenko's eye, which were fully enjoyable.
Both of them big smiles. Thought that was awesome.
He was having a good time.
Both, Tarasenko was smiling, and so was Stolarz on both of them. I thought that's awesome. Love that.
Pretty loose.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're comparing anything to Samsonov, who's like a fish out of water and sliding all over the place. And
now that he's gone, can we talk about how tough that was to watch?
Oh, God.
Like anything could look more efficient than Samsonov.
God.
That Friday night game against Columbus that you guys did, was that in December?
5-0
That'll be
to 6-5.
Burned to my brain for as long as I can think about hockey games.
I don't even, did they win 6-5?
No, they lost in OT. I think they were up 5-0, or they came all the way back.
We did the game, and I remember being there in the third period, and like they're down 5 Cobb to Columbus. What are we going to talk about?
And I remember you coming back and being like, you can't play again.
That's right. That's right. We said Samsonov cannot go in the net.
Cannot.
And then he ended up having a really good second half.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to buy some glasses.
I really like Samsonov for what it's worth.
Yesterday,
Good quote for us.
I loved our conversation with Steve Alacat, and I can't watch now the Leaf goalies without thinking about Valley and saying, okay, like where are goalies' comfort zones? And is Stolarz a guy that can legitimately think that number 1 spot's up for grabs and I want it? Or am I now at the point in my career where I'd love to see Woll play 50 and me 30 and I can just, be in that comfort zone?
We do have a clip from him talking about the opportunity from last night after the game, if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah,
we'll play Stolarz' clip here, boys.
It's obviously exciting. It's kind of what you want. And, as a hockey player, you want to be on the big stage. You want to be playing games. So, I have that opportunity here, and the rest is up to me. I mean, obviously, Woller's a great goalie, and so is Murray as well. And, we're all going to push each other throughout the year. And, I think that's what's best about these tandems is 2 guys, 3 guys that are willing to push each other and just kind of make the team better.
All right. Well,
that sound like a guy that's wanting to be thinks he's the backup?
Hey, let me ask you this. You talk about him being big. He's 6'6". What do you think he weighs?
I don't know.
266.
He's 6'6".
Yeah, I'd say 215, 220.
Yeah, sure.
243.
243.
That's a big guy.
That's a lot of person.
That is a huge guy. Oh, my God. So I just, the style that he plays, along with the style that Joe Woll plays, after a year of watching or 2 years of watching a lot of Ilya Samsonov, I think Leaf fans are going to really enjoy it. Where it's just a lot less high stress moments, where it may not be as spectacular at times, where there's big saves or big flashy stops, but it'll just be a little quieter in there.
You know, Kip, I think, this contract, he's 2 years at $2.5 million. Is that right, per season? Yeah, that's right. He's never really made a ton of money. I think after this contract, his career earnings will be $10 million, which I know that's a lot of money to the rest of us, but in the NHL, $10 million is not whatever. I'm sure he would love a contract. One of those contracts, a 5-year, whatever, times 5.
That is going anything north of 5, you are now flirting with number 1 status.
Right. And so I'm saying, I think if you're him, you're on a very good team. You're behind a Fabergé egg of a goalie. So far, maybe he won't be. Maybe Woll won't get hurt. But if I'm Stolarz, I'm like, after a year, we can start thinking about next contracts. This is a big year for him to see if he can, over the course of his career, have one time where he gets that big contract.
Classic Toronto media. Hasn't even started his new contract.
No, he's asking, does he have the mindset? I'm saying what I would have as a mindset.
There's 10 other teams that are thinking the same thing, right? Everybody's got a guy that's never done it before and saying, they're talented, this is what we love about them. They're square to the shooter, efficient. They look until they get into the fire.
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, every day would be Christmas.
So it will remain a question mark.
Yes, of course.
Even if the Leafs get shot out of a cannon.
He would be a fool if he's going into this season being like, I hope I get 28 games, I'm hoping that's not his mindset. Doesn't sound like that's his mindset. So he looked pretty good last night.
All right. Very, very impressive.
Yeah.
The whole outfit was, I think, really impressive, including Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I just want to
Steve Lawrence.
I just want you to compare his preseason Stolarz to Woll's games played so far. How do you think Woll's looked?
It's been a while.
1 game?
Yeah. Half a game.
Half a game. Yeah.
Are we maybe not talking about that enough, that we're going into the final preseason game? The starters played for 30 minutes?
They asked Berube today, and he didn't commit.
Game 1?
He didn't know. He didn't commit if he was going to play on Saturday. He wasn't going full day. He's like, we'll see.
Oh, then he's hurt.
I'm not saying
Well,
that.
Sam, if they're not going to play him at all in preseason at all, he's hurt.
Okay, well.
Don't read into anything like that.
All right.
He's playing Saturday. And if he's not and he's hurt, do you really want to start the season this way if you're the Leaf management team, misleading?
Hopefully not.
No, I don't think so. He's playing Saturday, and 1.5 games is what it is. It's not. I don't think training camp is what it used to be, and there's a lot of guys that want it or need it, and there's some that don't. I don't know where Joseph Woll sits in that, but as far as I'm concerned, you gave Joseph Woll Saturday start at home with Austin Matthews, with, we assume, Mitch Marner, and that's just to tee up Wednesday night.
I'm just saying if he's not playing.
No other. Don't read into anything else.
Right. I'm just saying if he's not playing.
But, okay, let me start the goalie chat here then. So it's back-to-back to start the season.
Wednesday, Thursday, 9th.
Open in Montreal. And then they play on the second half of back-to-back. So I'm assuming it would be Woll in Montreal and then Stolarz in New Jersey the next night against Sheldon Keefe.
Stolarz from New Jersey.
Yeah. So he plays that game. He's unbelievable. Woll shaky in the first game. Immediate goalie controversy. Immediate. No. Like, I'm telling you right now, immediate. The way that Stolarz looked in the preseason and then Woll barely played, immediate goalie controversy.
Leafs
they'd love that.
They have the most, I think, back-to-backs.
We got
to start, I think, the season.
Yeah, there's a good article Andrew Brewer wrote about the start of the season and the Atlantic Division, the teams. The Leafs have 5 back-to-backs in the first 20 games. They say, if you're out of it by this cutoff, that's where Brewer did it too, and they have 5 back-to-backs. So they have some challenging schedule early going. Both those are home openers for Montreal and New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, Sam.
Well, yes. I think New Jersey's coming back from playing today.
So a home opener, and they'll have had 4 games under their belt. Or,
and then they come home. They play a lot of hockey right off the hop, right? At least.
Yeah, the Leafs play the most games at that, Thanksgiving cutoff of any team, I think, 25. A lot of hockey early for the Leafs.
Kyle Dubas' Penguins on Saturday night, October 12th.
Keefe, then Dubas, back-to-back
Let's
nights.
go.
Yeah.
Narratives, baby.
All right, you mentioned Liljegren last night on a couple of occasions. Where do you see him? I know he's commented that he's not had the training camp that he probably would have liked.
Yeah.
But where do you see him?
Well, I see him on the Leafs only because I don't think you get better by just getting rid of him for no reason. There's not currently something you're trying to do financially that you'd want to free up his money, but he hasn't shown anything for Craig Berube coming in being like, what does this guy do? Why are we paying him $6 million over the next 2 years? As I said to you before, when do we put him out there? And I thought last night comes out after shaky preseason, a couple of turnovers, just hasn't looked that interested, even though I know that's not the case. He just hasn't popped. And so you reach a point where you go, okay, well, it's not so much that this guy's bad. It's, can we find someone who does something specifically for the team? He just hasn't worked so far.
Would you like to hear Berube talk about Liljegren?
I would.
Okay. Berube, clip 1, please.
Lily's got to do things, quicker. He's got to be a little bit heavier in his battles and moving the pucks quicker and simplify the game. I think, he's obviously battling. He wants to be a guy in the lineup every night, and that's great. But sometimes, you kind of put too much on your plate, right? Simplify the game a little bit more. If I had to say anything, simplify his game a little bit more and just do your job as a defenseman, killing plays and being heavy.
Is that where you lean on maybe giving him another chance here tomorrow?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if he's playing tomorrow yet or not, but that'll come tomorrow.
Would you, if the juggling works for the Leafs and they don't have too many issues to line up their roster, would you sneak in one of the younger kids that Marshall Rafai has had a very good camp, and he's gotten his nose dirty and he's blocked shots. And
Hammered,
right?
Hammered by Larkin last
night. To me, he's right up there with knocking on the doors the 7th D.
Yeah. My other question is where's Connor Timmins in all this? Like, is he at least does some offensive things that I like, but I haven't seen him much. This Philippe Myers, I'm not sure which it is, but I think it's Philippe. He's 6'7". None of them have taken Liljegren's job yet, so I don't know who you'd replace him with, and that helps him out that there's no one really behind him. But I don't think it's a good sign that Berube says he needs to simplify his game, because have you seen him being too fancy or anything? Like, I don't see him doing anything.
We've seen over the years him try to do too much.
Just do your job.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's just so I would say that's a guy that's on the lookout. I'm skeptical he's going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf April 17th or whatever when the playoffs start.
He was asked about that, about his future. Liljegren clip 2.
All right.
Given the roster changes that could come in the next few days, Tim, with the salary cap on Monday afternoon, do you wonder about your future at all here, or is that a bit of
like everything can happen, right? So I'm just trying to take it day by day, and obviously I know we got to make some changes. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm, as I say, just trying to take it day by day and work as hard as I can.
Even if you wanted to trade him, you got to get him to a team that can take the $3 million. I think that's
early on. That's hard.
It's hard unless a Columbus or an Anaheim, somebody just says, "I've got the room for it. I'll take it." And
if I were Columbus or Anaheim, I'd add him for sure.
He can be a serviceable player, but then you also lose a right-handed shot that's got some experience under his belt right now, and that's time has been very serviceable. And I don't think that the Leafs are ready to move Liljegren in and slide Myers in.
Mm-hmm. The best thing is probably just to let him play where they need him. Timmins still weirds me out because he hasn't even existed. Like, maybe he's going to play on Saturday or something. But Hakanpää, if Hakanpää were healthy, that would be interesting. But it doesn't sound like that's happening anytime soon. So there's just no one coming for his job right now.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you.
No, it was an off the ice thing. So
Okay, I was just going to say, outside of Saturday night, you get ready for a waiver wire that to this moment, I'm not sure if the Leafs need to really expose anyone that they might be worrying about losing.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Dewar, does he need protecting? You're going to sign Lawrence, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was maybe the best Leaf that wasn't Robertson.
So if you sign him and he's exposed, you think teams would be interested in picking him up?
Dewar? Who?
No, Lawrence.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So you got to think about maybe protecting him.
Yeah.
So, here's one for you. You leave Yarncroc unprotected.
I think he's snapped up in 2 seconds.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
I think it's not with
$2.4 million for Yarncroc.
Yeah, it's expensive.
20 times or no? Yeah.
It's expensive. I think it's expensive. If he gets claimed, are you not comfortable right now with Holmberg or Lawrence or Robertson filling in?
Yeah, it's not a bad point. It's not like there's
right. They've got guys now.
Often the conversation is not, what do you think of this player? Can this guy play in the league? It's, can the people who would replace them be better or be as good for cheaper dollar amounts? So it definitely is an interesting spot. The bigger thing is that, Kip, I think they can squeak all these guys through. Like, I think they're going to get to hang on to everyone.
Well, Dewar doesn't have to start, right?
Dewar's fine, right?
You can milk him for another week, 2 weeks of getting ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the case, and then you figure it out from there. Well, I look forward to the season starting and talking more about the good players.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of good players, Kippy, I've been getting a million messages and DMs and tweets. Did you watch the Amazon thing yet?
Yeah, I skimmed through it.
Skimmed it?
Well, listen, I started watching it, and
you're just waiting for your voice?
No. Yeah, I listened to us. You were very critical. I was just like...
Is Sammy in there?
Yeah, Sammy's
That's what I mean. Like, I've been getting a lot of messages about it.
Ripping Nylander.
Ripping? What did I say?
I don't know.
You don't even know.
Joking. Just like, he signed now. Like, what are you going to do? I think that's what you kind of referenced to, right?
Okay.
You better not go in the toilet. That kind of thing.
Okay. I guess we'll have to
Fair
watch.
comment.
I just found it a little fluffy. Like, just too much, like, the big music and the drama. I liked a couple of years ago the one that we talked about a lot in our show.
But it was Leaf specific.
It was the whole team.
But it
was the whole team.
I know, it was the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
But the behind-the-scenes stuff was way, like, I want real. I want, like, they
drama. Real drama.
The drama that they experienced at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Coach, the
like, I want to
watch
the look on Dubas and Sheldon keeping too scared to look whether or not
the goalie's eligible to play.
Yeah, whether Anderson's on the ice or not.
Yeah.
Like, or watching them in a meeting with Joe Thornton, going, we're fine.
We're in first place.
We're at first.
Like, you got nothing.
That's devastating when you lose.
You didn't get that out of this segment. It's fine.
Everything's great.
For your average hockey fan, I'm sure they're going to love it. But for me,
good to get to know the characters.
For me, it's just like, just rah stuff.
All these documentaries are all in pursuit of trying to be the F1, F1 doc. Because since the F1 doc came out, there's been all these. There's been a tennis one. There's been the golf one. There's been now the hockey one, the quarterbacks one.
It's what they're in pursuit of is the parasocial relationship you form with these people when you get to know them. You know what they're like and their behaviors, and you follow them and you think you understand them.
Yeah.
And so now you have the buy-in from all the people.
But that's what they're searching for the popular, like what F1 did for, what that documentary did for the popularity here. And they think that maybe it has a chance, maybe the NHL ones. But like the thing with the F1, it's sexy cars and fast cars and sweet locations and drama and ego. Like hockey players are too boring for that.
So boring.
So I don't know. I'll watch it. I just don't watch.
Yeah, you'll watch it.
Everything you read about Willie is like, the league's most interesting man. It's like, what's interesting?
The dramatic, the music, and like the slow motion, and it's like
the most interesting Leaf is actually Joseph Woll. He's the only one that I'm aware of that like he's into like backpacking and Lego, and he's like classical music, and everyone else is like, I don't know, eat donuts and play hockey.
The first episode's a lot of Pasternak and Nylander's kids.
Great.
Their experiences together.
We get to talk about how the Bruins and the Leafs guys are best friends for the whole
and they're having
hour.
dinner together. Sick. And
love that.
Could
they just hate each other? Maybe like they're rivals. Like could that?
Yeah.
Never happens.
And then there's one scene where Pasternak opens up his fridge, and it reminded me of my fridge my first week when I played block of cheese. I'm like, buddy, that was my fridge when I was making like $22,000 a year. You're making $12 million. Your fridge shouldn't look like mine when I was in Hershey.
You can hire people for that.
Cheaper just to go to Uber Eats, probably.
Well, he probably just goes out to dinner.
Yeah, go get Uber Eats or go to dinner.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But they talked about Willie's migraines a little bit, and, but not real insight. Like, I wanted to see the look on Sheldon's face when, they said he's out with migraines. That's what I wanted to see.
But you're deep in the weeds. You're in the weeds.
Like, no Matthews at all disappearing either.
You want confirmation bias. That's what you want. You want to be like, these guys are soft. That's what I want.
Show me that, Amazon, right?
Yeah.
I want the truth.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
We should go. We got to get to Luke.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We got Luke Fox coming up, Leaf writer for Sportsnet.ca. We'll get Luke's thoughts going into Wednesday night, Toronto-Montreal, opening up their NHL seasons. All right, making his appearance for the first time on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. You've seen him many times when we run out of our A-listers. Let's bring in...
Expensive start.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love this guy. Does a trip. Look,
That's the gods. That's karma gods.
Did you have...
Get it together.
Hey, stop giving me chocolate in commercial breaks.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
Who canceled that you had to get me on?
No one.
Wayne Gretzky. And you are our second choice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are you buying it? Luke Fox, everybody, Sportsnet.ca. How's your training camp going? Better than ours, I bet. Better than mine right now.
I'm ready for it to be over. And I mean, the regular season started a few hours ago, and we still got another preseason game to go to tomorrow for the Leafs. I asked Max Domi the ideal number of preseason games yesterday, and his answer was 0. and I'm kind of siding with them.
So far, we've been kicking around storylines for this team. We've talked a lot of Nick Robertson, some Timothy Liljegren. What stands out for you? I know that's sort of a macro level question, but is there anything in particular where you've got your eye focused on in terms of what training camp is going to tell us about this team?
Well, I think the big picture, it's just the coach, right? They made very few changes. I really like Chris Tanev coming in, but once we see that Morgan Rielly has a right shot pairing guy that he's long needed, it's how much more do you say about that? Mm-hmm. What I'm most curious about is the impact of the coach. Already there's a different tone to the camp. A couple guys have mentioned that it's a tougher camp. They got a new system to learn. He's really stressing finishing their checks. There seems to be an edge to this one. And maybe that would have come with any coaching change just because they had gotten comfortable under Sheldon. But I think Berube is a personality. He walks in the room. He walks in front of the cameras, faces the reporters. There's just a different aura that he carries. And I'm sure that's the same in the dressing room. So that's the biggest change for me. And then there's other storylines like Robertson. It's hard to deny. The guy gets 5 goals in 4 preseason games. He's a story. And the other one is the Willie at center thing. It's just like a little bit curious. What are we doing here? Because the last few days he's been back practicing on the wing, and it's like, okay, what's really going to happen in the regular season? Are they going to give us this a fair shake? Because If not, it feels a bit ridiculous that we've gone through this song and dance again.
I want to cover all of the things that you just mentioned, but just going back to Craig Berube and the feel of how he's making them feel a lot more responsible, I think, at the 200-foot game. I thought that it may take a week or 2 weeks, and we may not see the best of the Leafs. I think at times I was expecting boring games or disciplined games where we don't see them blowing zones, and maybe there would be an adjustment. But is there signs out of training camp, including what we saw last night, albeit young kids, that they may be ready to implement what he wants out of the gate a lot stronger than what I even thought? You think they'll get off to a good start? Do you see a good start out of this team?
They're learning a new system. And a couple guys have mentioned that there's an adjustment. They're learning a different system. They were used to Sheldon's system. This one's way more north-south. I've never, the coach is constantly harping on them finishing their checks. I'll give you an example. So the first day of training camp under Sheldon, they barely touched the puck. It was a lot of conditioning stuff, a lot of skating. First day of training camp under Berube, it was almost all battle drills, small area, just like intense, battles along the boards. He's really stressing finishing your checks. He's prioritizing defense. Anytime you want to talk about someone's offense, even Nick Robertson, right? He's putting the puck in the net every time he touches it. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about how they're turning him into a penalty killer. They want to talk about his back checking. They want full team defense. And I find it kind of interesting because last offseason, they went out and got Domi and Bertuzzi, and they really focused on, let's get more secondary scoring. The theme now seems to be, let's win some tighter games because that's the style that wins in the playoffs. Let's clamp down on defense. Maybe we won't score as many goals as we have in the past, but we'll prevent one extra a night if we can. And I think that message is getting through. Now, what's it going to look like in the regular season? Are there guys that miss assignments still trying to think, are they in their head like, I got to figure out this system? Probably there's going to be some growing pains.
So do you think you can teach an old dog new tricks?
Yeah.
Do you think these guys can play differently?
Are you looking at me?
I need help on the show. Do you think, I don't know, is Marner going to start finishing checks? Is that going to help them if those guys play more physical?
Well, I mean, for guys like Marner, I don't think he's going to be banging defensemen into the glass every time he goes down the ice. But I do think there's going to be less tolerance for the extra pass, the cute play. Mm-hmm. Let's get on the highlight reel because we made this tic-tac-toe so gorgeous. It's going to make your jaw drop. I think there's going to be less patience for holding on to it, more shots on net. So I do think are you going to completely change some of these guys? Probably not. But there is probably, you can move them this far in the direction the coach wants. And I think he's not, I don't think he's going to call guys out in the media, but behind closed doors, I think he has a way that he wants them to play. And I think he's going to hold them to that.
As far as the blue line, it seems to be it had been in the past the topic of conversation on not being good enough. And have you seen or felt like there's enough depth now where maybe Morgan doesn't have to get back into a conversation to win a Norris Trophy, but with Tanev there, that we're going to see a better Morgan Riley here and it's going to be followed up underneath him?
Yeah, 100%. And maybe not in year 4 of the deal or even year 3 of the deal, but the first couple of years, I'd like to think so. I think Tanev's that much of a difference maker. Morgan Riley has always thrived when he has a right shot, stay-at-home defenseman who can have his back and let him do his thing, jump up in the rush, use his amazing feet and hands and vision to try and create from the back end. The Leafs have not generated a ton of offense from defensemen. It's really been probably one of the undersold downfalls of them in the regular season and in the postseason. They don't have a lot of contributions from the blue line. And so Morgan Riley should lead the charge that way because he has that security blanket. I mean, look how good he was with Luke Schenn, right? A guy that was, almost out of the league at one point as his partner. And now he's got Tanev, who you ask around the league, and he's one of the best partners a guy could have. Ask Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes loved having this guy. So I think it's going to be a massive upgrade. I think they're going to need some time to figure out the other pairs. Like, is Ekman Larson, McCabe, are they going to mesh? We'll see. And the third pair, that to me is a little bit of a fascinating storyline of camp, because Timothy Liljegren looks like he's in one here.
Yeah, no kidding. I do want to get to that, but I've also want to make sure I get to this question. So it used to be that we could interview assistant coaches in the NHL. I don't know. Do other teams let their assistant coaches be interviewed? I have no idea. If some do,
but not many, and not the Leafs is pretty much as long as I've been on the beat. I remember we got to talk to Manny Malhotra the day he was hired, and then never again. But and you know what? So the rule is the team has to make a coach or an executive available every game day, every practice. So they did it a few times last year. Torts took some time off.
Who do you want to hear from Marc Savard?
Very much. I think that Marc Savard, my understanding of Savard is that he's a very different, we're talking about this Leafs coaching staff, like north, south, grit, hit. Like Marc Savard is a wheel and deal dish and power play guy. I would like to know what the rest of the coaching staff thinks philosophically about how a team should play.
Are you nuts?
What do you mean, am I nuts?
Yeah, you're not getting him to talk about that.
Why?
That's the last thing Brendan Shanahan or Tree Living.
They don't want us to know that they like good hockey.
They just don't want too many chefs in the kitchen telling stories. That's all.
Well, I'd like to know what flavors are going into the dishes.
They want one narrative. You're right, Nick. But I'm with Justin in that I think it would be nice if they loosened up a little bit and we got some other perspectives. And it would give the head coach a day off from doing media.
So Savard's going to do the power play. Van Ryn's going to do the penalty kill. Is that what's that? And Laine Lambert.
Laine Lambert.
Laine Lambert's going to do the penalty kill.
And Van Ryn's in charge of the D. Yeah.
And Van Ryn in charge of the D. Okay. Well, that's a good perspective to know that things are going to be different all around. So there's going to be a lot of different voices. You did mention Liljegren there. I've been a little bit hard on him so far this season. Do you think that things are going to change for him? Is he going to have some runway with the Leafs to prove that he can be a Berube guy?
Well, I think he should have some runway, but just based on his salary alone. I mean, $3 million, you give him a new contract, like give the guy a chance. He has to do something with it, right? Like he's had a lot of opportunities and he's shown flashes, but he just hasn't had that consistency. And, you start to think like this is a bit of an organizational weak point that's probably not been talked about enough. Like we kept waiting for Travis Dermott. Oh, he's eventually going to be a top 4 guy. Didn't happen. Rasmus Sandin, like there was a point where it was like, oh, maybe this guy's going to run the power play instead of Morgan Riley. And maybe he's going to establish himself as a top 4 D-man on this team. Didn't happen. He ended up on the outside. You're running out of guys here. So, I think he's been given the benefit of the doubt largely because he's a right shot. But Berube was talking about it today, and Liljegren was saying he has a lot more to prove, and Berube was basically saying, yeah, he does. And he wants him to play strong defense. He's not talking about him moving the puck up and getting a whole bunch of secondary assists. He wants him to defend. So to me, when I hear that, I'm saying as soon as Hakanpää is healthy, Liljegren better watch out because his job's in jeopardy.
Totally.
I don't think Hakanpää jeopardizes anyone's job because there's just no way that you can ever count on that guy playing a large stretch of hockey.
Hell of a signing, man.
My opinion.
Then why sign him?
Because he's big and he can be serviceable, and you got to just get him to April. It might just be for 2 or 3 games. You just don't know, but he's worth the gamble if you can get him healthy enough in April.
Is he skating separate from the team?
40 games, 40 games, 50 games?
He's skating with the team now. Just started this week. Before it was all on a separate pad and a non-contact. So he's making strides, but all signs point to him starting on LTI. And you know what? I was thinking about this. The Leafs actually had a chance to start, with not using LTI, because Klingberg came off the books, Muzzin came off the books. They actually could have had a season where they accrued cap space that they could use at the deadline. But now with Dewar and Hakanpää, it looks like they're going to use it again.
That's too bad. So Saturday night, are we going to get kind of their opening day lineup? Is that what we're expecting?
The closest thing to it, yeah. Although he was very secretive about whether Woll was going to start that game. And I don't know why.
What's happening there?
Yeah, what's happening there?
Yeah, okay.
So he tweaked something yesterday, and we were all watching, and his body language wasn't great. No, but he said he was fine.
Pardon?
But it's just we're watching him, and we're just like, maybe he is fine. Yeah. Maybe it was just bad body language. He finished the practice, but it was just one of those, a little moment where you're just like, oh man, it just reminds you what a razor's edge they're riding here.
Wow.
Yeah. But he said he was fine.
Yeah, we all say we're fine.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, we always say we're all
fine. How's your mental state? Oh, it's fine. I'm great.
We're good. We're good. Oh yeah, day to day, we're fine.
Let's just say
maintenance.
This guy needs to play all 60 minutes, or else I think the alarm bells will go off.
I agree.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right,
Luke,
good times.
For a guy filling in for Wayne Gretzky, man, great job. Great job. Our own Luke Fox from Sportsnet.ca.
Thanks, Luke. Good to see you.
Looking forward to having you all season long, Luke. Thanks for doing this. So we're going to get a real doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And
Doctor?
Doctor and on air last night.
Very good. Drop in.
Doctor.
How long is it?
The rest of our show.
So we're gonna ask him about a ton of things, including Patrik Laine's knee, Landeskog's knee, and the likelihood of him ever coming back after being like a year and a half, 2 years off.
And our doctor was a Calgary Flames draft pick.
Hakanpää, right? What's the likelihood of him on a knee that is a little wonky? So it'll be fun.
His knee's a little Hakanpää.
What about Joe Woll?
And Demko.
He just tweaked some.
Oh my God.
I'm going to get his thoughts on Demko too, because that, to me, it's a guy leaves in the first round and has all summer and can't be ready in October. That is weird to me.
That's bad.
So
yeah, we'll pursue some answers.
Jason Smith in the next hour.
Doctor.
Okay, so when I introduce him, I'm going to go doctor, and then he should come back to us and go doctor, because we're not doctors.
And doctor.
But we're gonna play one. We're gonna play one on TV. In this segment, we're gonna play doctors.
The doctor segment.
Yeah,
okay.
The doctor segment.
Good. Okay.
We'll contact some pharmaceutical sales rep to sponsor the bit.
All right, we good? Anything else?
No,
on
we're
the
not
Leafs?
good.
I'm a little concerned about what he had to say there. I mean, Luke doesn't want to start fires.
How come this has kind of been quiet? That there's speculation
because
that
he's
Joseph
playing
Woll
body
tweaked
language.
Something.
He's playing body language doctor.
Yeah, when you're there and you watch practice and you see someone go, and then you're like, is
but
that
now,
a
based
thing?
on Craig Berube's,
coyness,
if
that's a word.
Excellent word.
Is it? Yeah.
Well, it works for me right now.
Okay, good.
Now we start kind of connecting the dots here a little bit. Are we? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're over the course of this hour, we have gone from not worried to worried. We have talked ourselves into a frenzy. I whipped us into one.
No, you started. You're like, he's hurt.
Yeah, no, I said if he doesn't play Saturday.
No. Before you said that,
flip it. I said if he doesn't play Saturday, he's hurt.
Check the tape.
Yes, do.
It's the National Hour on Sportsnet. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver. Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. Welcome in. It's Off the Rails Friday, which means momentarily we'll be joined by former NHL president, GM head coach, author of Draft Day, How to Pick Winners or Get Left Behind. Probably more Left Behind.
We're done promoting that book.
Are we?
Doesn't exist this year. Sorry, Doug. I'm sure he has another one in the
paperback or something. No, he'll push something else. He'll push a condo.
Great.
Something's coming.
I'm fine. We'll sell whatever condo he needs.
Doug MacLean momentarily, and then later on in the hour, we're going to welcome in a leading orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Jason Smith. We'll get into Demko's situation, Patrik Laine's situation, or, and by no means am I introducing him for us to tell us what's wrong with those guys because he's not their doctor, and but we can certainly speculate on challenges that they might have moving forward. All these athletes, so I look forward to welcoming in Dr. Jason Smith, one guy that often plays a doctor on TV but isn't. Maybe he has a doctor in something.
Probably
maybe.
An honorary one from, isn't he teacher somewhere now?
Let's welcome in what we think and hope is a more cheerful Doug MacLean because he's been off for many months of our show. What are you, under a heat lamp? What's going on? Oh, okay. Look at that.
We got no audio.
We got no audio.
But it is good to see him.
He looks
How's
good.
that?
Hey,
There's your audio.
What's happening?
What's going on?
You know what? It's just it's a sunny day here, and I just can't. It's summer in PEI. So.
You look like you've been bobbing for French fries.
No, I'm not ready to. Although I was out doing a lot of yard work today, getting things ready, getting things shut down. We're heading to Italy on Wednesday.
There it is.
On a hiking.
On
a hiking.
Italy.
Portugal.
I was close.
So is this
just
like a bonus? Oh my God!
Hold on.
Is this like a bonus segment for us? Because we're not, or are we gonna get you in Italy?
No, you're not getting me in Italy. We're going to be on a hiking trip in Tuscany, and if I see Kypreos or Bourne's name, I don't have Bourne in my contacts, so I don't have to worry about him phoning me.
Jason Bourne.
So are you refreshed? Are you less crusty than maybe a year ago?
You know what? I always find when the NHL season starts, I get crusty. And it just because I have to watch games, and I really don't want to do that anymore. But the problem with this show, when I do it, is I have to watch games because I've got to bring some knowledge, so that's what I'm really most upset about. So anyway, it's all right.
You must be fired up about our preseason topic, which has been Nick Robertson. We've really enjoyed talking about him. Are you want another year talking about Nick Robertson?
Well, obviously he's a star right now. I mean, he might be the golden nugget to lead them to the Stanley Cup. He may be the Eddie Litzenberger from the 65, 67
I
Leafs.
compared him to Eddie Litzenberger too, for sure. Great comparison.
So if we were to go across the country, who's in Canada, who's made the most?
Just a minute. They're comparing him to Dave Keon from what I'm reading. So,
Oh, you're in fine form
already. Name I know.
Who do you like? Who do you like across the board? Who had the best summer in your opinion? Edmonton ready to go back and win one more game. What do you see from coast to coast right now? And obviously we'll include your Nick Robertson, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, look. Well, let's start. I'll just give you my rankings for the Pacific, okay? And this may surprise you a little bit, but I've got Vancouver finishing in first in the Pacific. I've got them ahead of Edmonton.
Is that with Demko?
That's with Demko. So I've got in the Pacific, I've got Vancouver, Edmonton, Vegas, LA, Seattle, Anaheim, Calgary, San Jose. That's my rankings for the Pacific. And Vancouver, Edmonton, I'm listening to Tocchet, the way he's carrying himself. Haven't heard much of Knobloch. Skinner, Demko, I give them an edge. I know Skinner had a great playoff, but I'm giving Demko the edge as long as he's healthy. And it's scaring me, this injury. You just don't know what it is. But I think they use on the back end. I think Pettersson's going to be a lot better. JT Miller. I think Vancouver is going to really challenge. I really do.
So you have Calgary really low there, just ahead of San Jose. They're doing. They didn't want to call it a rebuild. They're obviously doing a rebuild. What do you think's going on there? What sort of timeline are they looking at? What should Flames fans be looking for this year?
That's frightening.
Is it?
I just don't think. I mean, look, I know they're in a rebuild, but as I just did a show in San Jose this afternoon, and they were bragging about the work that San Jose's done, and the great young players, and they're rated with the best prospects, in the league. And I said, just a minute. Columbus were rated 1, 2, 3 for the best prospects for the 7 years I was there. Mm-hmm. And they have won one playoff round since. Like, having prospects is one thing, but winning is another thing. I've got these teams that have all these great prospects as the bottom feeders in the league, because you've got to get quality veterans around them. And Calgary I know it's a tough rebuild. I looked today. Kadri is their number one centerman.
Yeah.
And I love Kadri, but I don't have him as a number one center on a playoff team. I think it's going to be a tough year there. I really do.
I think the next few years, in all honesty, is just to build something up towards a new building. What is that?
Yeah.
2.5, 3 years.
Right?
But that's, it's going to take some time. Yeah. But
it's going to take some time. I love the coach. I think they've got a real good, solid coach there. I love Conroy. I think they've got a chance to turn it around and do good work there. And it's a great city. The building is going to be a great positive for the franchise moving forward. I just think they're going to be in for a pretty tough year.
So why do you have Vancouver ahead of Edmonton? And does that include Vancouver in the playoffs coming out of it against Edmonton? Why aren't you excited about Edmonton? Everybody thinks that they're going to win it this year.
Well, you asked me for my regular season picks. You didn't ask me for my playoff picks. You've got to be more clear on what my assignments are.
Okay, so what is the focus of Edmonton then? It's not to win the division then, apparently, out of you.
I think you're going to have Vancouver and Edmonton in the final in the West. And I think it's going to be I really think it's going to be a dogfight, unless Dallas can come back as strong as they were. And you like Dallas, Colorado, where's Landeskog? Is he going to be back at any time? With Makar there, you can't underestimate them. But again, it comes back to goaltending for them, for me. So, and I just think Vancouver with Hughes and Pettersson, I've said it for 4 years, I think they're going to be superstars in the league. Pettersson had a drop-off last year. I think he and Tocchet will be more on the same page this year. I think it was probably a good learning experience for Pettersson and a good learning experience for Tocchet in dealing with Pettersson. And I just think they look like a pretty solid team. And don't get me wrong, I love Edmonton too. You can never go against Edmonton with Draisaitl and McDavid, but I hope Skinner comes back and takes a big step. He's capable of it. It's going to be a dogfight between those two teams. I think it's going to be really, really great series between those two teams in the regular season. They hate each other too, which is really good. The Vancouver fans hate a lot of people. Edmonton don't hate as many people, but they're close. So it'll be fun.
For another year, are we going to sleep on Winnipeg?
I've got Winnipeg second last. I've got them I've got Winnipeg. Here's my central: Dallas, Colorado, Nashville, Minnesota, St. Louis, Utah, Winnipeg, Chicago.
Wow.
Let me give you that again:
fans.
Dallas, Colorado, Nashville, Minnie, St. Louis, Utah, Winnipeg, and Chicago. That's where I've got it. Do you disagree?
Well, Hellebuck won't allow that.
Hellebuck should relax in the regular season and get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. He had a tough one.
He's had a tough bunch of them. I mean, this has been going on for a few years. He's got to figure it out. He's a great goaltender. But I'm taking Dallas's goaltender ahead of him all day long. I like Nashville's ahead of him, and he's got to get it done in the playoffs.
Yeah. They didn't manage to hang on to Monahan or to Foley. They lost some pretty good players. They're still quite a bit there after a year where they had 110 points last year or something. They had a lot of points last year, so that would be a pretty steep fall off. This is unrelated to the conversation we're having, but I can't help but wonder as we head into a new season, Have you talked to NHL teams, Doug? Are you going to get back in to coach, to manage, to advise? Are you?
Where's this coming from?
Because Doug watches hockey, and Doug knows hockey, and it's surprising to me that Doug isn't
You
involved
holding out on
in
us?
hockey.
Is he got a scoop?
This show has really helped my credibility. I'll say that because I walk into restaurants. Jill and I walked into this at the Charlottetown Yacht Club, and I got people from Vancouver, saying, "Oh man, I love that Kyper show when you're on it."
That seems to be the theme. Yeah.
Listen, the last job I interviewed for was Buffalo. They made it as an advisor role. Got even Lindy Ruff phoned and put in a good word for me, and he's back. And anyway, Kevin decided to go in a different direction, and not sure it's worked out that well.
No, it's going great for them. They've been terrible since.
So no, I'm retired, and we've got an apartment building under construction here this summer, so I've been busy with that, and we've got a couple of subdivisions. I'm busy and I'm enjoying things, and I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Speaking of the Buffalo Sabres, they opened up the NHL season officially versus New Jersey.
Just one.
What's that?
Just don't let me interrupt you. But what I'm hoping is going to happen to me is that some of these things I do for free, that somebody may step up and pay me.
Well, it ain't going to be us. The Sabres lost 4-1 in the first regular season game of the year, and unfortunately kind of looked like what they left off with last year. How much pressure is Kevin Adams on, or the rest of them in the East, at least in the Atlantic, with Ottawa, Montreal? Where do you see Buffalo shaping up here?
Okay. Do you want me to give you my Atlantic?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that you got
That's my lead into you. That's what makes me a great host.
Now I did this a week ago, so I've got to redo it because I've got Florida, Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto. If Boston don't get their goaltender signed, Swayman, then Toronto's ahead of them. Okay, it's not close for me. Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, and Montreal. So that again, Florida, Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto, and Boston and Toronto flipped if they don't figure it out with their $9 million goalie. Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, and Montreal. Like the pressure on Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit is over the top. And Marty St. Louis gives the best post-game speeches of anybody I've ever heard. But he's got to win some games with that too.
Doesn't have any players, Mac.
I talked to a couple of NHL coaches, and they said, "Oh my God, how good is he post-game, win or lose? But when's he going to win some games?" So there's a ton of pressure on Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, and not so much Montreal. For some reason,
out of those four, who's closest? We know Detroit was closest to end last season, but out of those four, who do you like best?
Buffalo should be closer because I really like their blue line. It's a blue line that has a chance to really become a great NHL blue line. But they've got to come. They've got to improve. And you got to surround that blue line with great goaltending. And up front, they need the big guy to bounce back, the big scorer. That's the bottom line. But Ottawa, I like Ottawa, but I just don't see them taking a step. I sent a note to Garriock the other day and said, "Look, I've got you missing again, Bruce. I know it's going to be another long winter for you, but I apologize, but I've got them out of the mix." Of course, he won't buy that, or he won't write it. That's for damn sure.
And Lauer stroked another big check to take some ownership out of Ottawa there. He needs some playoff gates here.
Yeah, they've got to get it going. And look, you love their nucleus. You love the Kachuk, Stutzel. He's got to smarten up a little bit for me. He's getting a reputation around the league, and he's got to smarten up. I still think. Well, I just don't like the way he handles himself a lot of times on the ice.
Bad decisions on the ice
with the puck.
Yeah. So we'll see. Norris has got to be healthy for them. they've got a great group there, but they've got to win. They've got to win some games. I
Okay.
watched Travis yesterday. I was sort of chuckling watching Travis. When he was interviewing for the job, he was the most jovial guy you could ever imagine. He backed to himself. He was funny. Then I watched his presser yesterday, and he was the most serious guy I've ever seen. Like, relax, you know, just relax and be yourselves. It's a lot of.
That's what Marty St. Louis does, and you give him crap on our show.
Well,
Make
no.
up your mind.
No, I said he's great in the press conferences. He just has. It's got to translate to some wins.
Well, that's what Travis knows.
Eventually,
That's why he's the way he is.
Last week it was he's building a home for Laine, not a house. He's building a home. You know,
Is that right? Are you watching the Montreal documentary? Isn't there a Montreal documentary going on right now?
Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. I just saw that comment about Laine.
All right, listen, for a guy that's been in scenarios as a president and a GM, I want you to break down the Swayman situation in Boston. And, you know, I go almost, I don't want to say I flip-flop, but I can understand both sides, if that is even possible, in terms of Swayman thinking when Ullmark left, he had some leverage to go after a big contract. He avoids arbitration. This is my chance to get a big deal. And then you got the Boston side saying, hold on, time out. You're 25. We don't really know for sure. There's not enough sample sizes here for us to make a big, long 8-year commitment. And there seems to just be this standstill right now. And then there's that public perception out there because Cam Neely floated out $64 million. Like, how do you see this thing as is, and where's it going?
Well, look, you know, you and I talked about it, and the fact they didn't have him done and they moved Ullmark out of there was I was shocked on that. You know, I was shocked that happened. You know, you had it last year to get him done. You move out a number one goaltender, and then all of a sudden Swayman has all kinds of leverage. He played 79 games in the league. But here's the scary part for Boston. You look at Bourne would know this because he's a metric, you know, he loves the analytics stuff. But just look at the shots on goal. And I'm not getting into the minutia of analytics, but they gave up a ton of scoring chances. They gave up a ton of shots. If it wasn't for Swayman last year, they don't even make the playoffs, guys. Mm-hmm. They don't make the playoffs. That's how good he was last year. Not to mention he took a big step in the playoffs and kept them in the Toronto series, won them the Toronto series, and then almost won the Florida series. He's been their MVP. But you've got a Florida or a Boston tradition there, and the ownership are tough. So I don't think we should blame Neely and Sweeney because the ownership had a history of being unbelievably tough negotiators, or forcing their general managers to be tough negotiators. So we'll see. You know, look, I didn't like Lewis Gross and Neely. I didn't like that. If I'm the GM, that would really piss me off. You know, you don't need your president going out there and causing this. Lewis Gross comes back and said they never got 64. Well, no, they were 200,000 below or something. But they got to pay him. They got to get this guy done, guys, or they're not going to make the playoffs. That's how tough it is to make the playoffs. And if they don't get them done, Korpisalo was one of the worst goaltenders in the NHL. Now, we all remember in Columbus when he was so great against Tampa Bay and he stood in his head and he looked like he was going to be a star. But last year, playing with Ottawa, he's one of the worst goalies in the league. They've got to get him done. And I'll be shocked if it's not done in the next few days. I really will.
Doug, turn the page to a different team and get your thoughts on Arbor Jacki in preseason. And how do you feel about the aggression? There's been Jacki's chasing around a Leaf and beating him up and throwing hits on Stützle, or Stützle as you call him.
They play again tomorrow night, and I think Ottawa called somebody up who just, I don't know, might be a little tougher than.
Oh, really?
That's the word.
Oh,
yeah. Look, I felt bad for the kid, Pare or whatever, Cedric Pare or.
Yep.
I felt sorry for him. I didn't think it was an intentional shot. The kid's trying to make the team. He's got a superstar coming in one-on-one with him. you never like a knee on knee. You never like it. But I thought it was a major overreaction, obviously by the fans in Montreal. But, the big kid, I don't condone it, but I don't mind them going and protecting a teammate. And we get criticized for that as being goons, but I still think you've got to send a message. Did he send it in a fair way? Maybe not. But I like what he brings to the table. The kid in the Montreal back. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but I like lots of things about this guy. Mm-hmm. I do, and I felt for the kid in Toronto. I really did, and I felt for Laine. But that happens.
So yesterday, Sammy asked me if I remembered the lineup of my first NHL game with the Washington Capitals, and I think I named all but maybe two guys.
Yeah.
I didn't name Bob Rouse. I missed Bob Rouse. I think he was on. I don't know if he played that game.
How could you miss Rouser? He played for us in Detroit.
I don't have it in front of me, but I have.
Okay.
I don't have that.
So my question to you and Sammy is, Sammy, do you have any idea who his roster was, his first NHL coaching game?
For the Florida Panthers on October 7th, 1995, a 4-0 loss to the New Jersey Devils. I have the whole team in front of me.
4-0 loss.
Yeah.
Sammy, you better look at the next 5 in a row after that and see how the record was.
It was good.
Was it win?
Yeah.
Okay, so we lose 4-0 in Jersey. I get on the plane, my first game coach in the NHL. I get on the plane, and Brian gets on. He's Brian Murray, and he just went by me on the plane, shook his head. That was awful, he said. I thought I was getting fired before we landed in South Florida. So then Sammy, pull out your pad there, buddy.
Okay.
We won 5 in a row after that. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, we were in first place at Christmas because I happened to be named the All-Star coach.
Yep. You got hot.
And then I think the next year, I was in first place at Christmas too.
Okay, we don't care. I want to hear your roster. How many guys you should be able to name your lineup that night?
Oh, you mean the whole lineup?
Well, give me your first 2 lines.
I'll have to go into my Hall of Fame room here, and I'm going to take you on a tour of that one of these days. By the way, I've got the
Do you remember who was your lineup?
Brian Scrudlin, Dave Lowry. I remember 90% of it. Yeah. 90% of it I would. There was a couple of guys.
That sounds like 10% of it to me.
There was a lot of guys I was trying to forget. Bob Kudelski. Bob Kudelski was on my team. I don't know. He probably didn't dress.
Didn't start. No.
Marcel Dion's younger brother was on the team, but he didn't dress.
Beezer was your goalie.
Beezer was my goalie, and Beezer was. He and Mark Fitzpatrick were my goaltenders. I don't know if they spoke all year. There wasn't a really tight group. Billy Smith was my goaltending coach.
Oh man,
and
love Billy.
Billy, when his contract come up, he wanted in his contract that he didn't have to go to the morning skates. He just wanted to show up for the games because he wanted to play golf in the mornings. So I said, Billy, I wouldn't bring that up to Brian if I was you. I just go to the morning skate. I said, isn't that when you work with the backup goalie, the morning skates? Anyway, we had a great group there. Billy Lindsay. I mean, it went on. Rob Niedermeyer, Radek Dvorak.
Now you're warming up.
Oh, yeah, he's getting up.
Now you're warming up.
Rhett Warner, Gordon Murphy, Paul Laws. I mean, it was just an amazing group of guys. It really was. It really was. Tommy Fitzgerald.
Bunch of guys in
Johan Garpenloff, Ray Shepard. Well, we traded for Shepard into the season, but I remember every one of them.
Not bad. Listen. It's like a bike coming on our show. You just got to get on it, and you just got to get the feel of it again.
Get pedaling.
Okay? And you're not as red. Somehow, some way, you've taken, you pulled the shade down or something. You're not as red as you did.
Well, no, I pulled the shade. Jill told me yelled at me to pull the shade down. So,
well, terrific
usually
stuff.
I do shows later at night, and I don't get the glare,
So, like, I don't know if we can get the wide shot of Doug in wherever he is, but, he used to put jerseys up for me, years ago when I did the Real Kipper. And now, is that a portrait of you fishing? No, you left the shot. Where are you going now?
Lifestyles of the rich and famous here. We're going to get a tour. This is great television.
Okay.
I love this place. Look at it, all wood walls. Wow. Look at this.
For those of you that can't see, he's walking through his Taj Mahal
right
hockey.
There. There's the team right there.
Who's wearing the C there?
Oh, Scrudlin.
Scrudlin wearing the C?
Yeah. Great jerseys.
Yeah. And then I'll show you the All-Star pictures here. That's a picture of, just a minute now.
Okay.
You got a picture of your dog, Doug?
You start pulling out.
See the grandkids?
Anyway, I'll give you a tour sometime when I know how to work this camera.
All right. Well, hey, great job. And
get the hook.
And is that you fishing in the background? Did Jill do a portrait of you in the background of that guy right there with the hat? Is that you?
No, that's a picture from Jill's dad, who was a pharmacist. So we have that set up in memory of him.
Awesome.
So,
okay, pal. Well, listen.
Way to put your foot in your mouth, Kipper.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time. Won't be the last with you on a Friday. Thanks for doing this, Mac.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, right. Mac. Appreciate it.
I'll be in Italy. Tell Sam I'm in Italy next week. And don't phone me.
Can Jill be on? Will Jill do the show?
And I'm on a hiking trip, so I won't have a phone.
Can we get Jill one show?
Oh my God, that would be electric. I would love to get Jill.
Oh my God, that would
ask
be
her
just
Doug.
like
as Jill said tonight. Are you doing that show again this year?
Tell her we're sorry.
Bye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me, guys.
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
That is Doug MacLean on Off the Rails Friday.
I mean, wow. Him taking on a house tour was about as off the rails.
Okay. Quickly before we go to break, I got to do game time. All right. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, I put this one in there because this is a wild one that I found on there today. You can bet on the opponent that Alex Ovechkin potentially breaks the goal record against. So he is minus 2,000 for it to not happen
this year.
So it's a favorite to not happen. He needs 42 goals to break the record, which is scarily close, very close. But then I was looking at the schedule, and it's into April, where I think it's halfway through April. The favorite is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They play a home and home with the Columbus Blue Jackets on a weekend, a Saturday, Sunday against the Blue Jackets, and that's the favorite. And then after that, it goes to the New York Islanders at plus 2,500, then Carolina at plus 2,800, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins at plus 3,000, and it's all date related in terms of when he's going to do it. So you can literally bet on anything, and that is a wild one for me.
Give me a number.
Over this year?
For his season.
You were close last year.
Yeah, I was.
And then he got
30,
hot.
What did you say?
I said 27 last year, and he got 29 or something like that.
Did he?
I'll give him 24 this year. 24. And then the next year, it's going to be 17, and he's going to need one going into the third year, and then the league's going to shut down for the CBA, and he'll never get it.
One can hope.
I'm not sure if he's ever going to.
He scored 31 goals last year.
I'm not sure if he's ever going to come off the ice this year.
No.
So
empty netters galore.
And the year
they got to win games for that.
And the year before last year, he scored exactly 42. Okay. So in 21-22, he scored exactly 42.
I'm flipping it. Give him 24.
And what do we say? He needs 42?
He needs 42 to break, 41 to tie.
41 to tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 safe, I think, with him. But it's slowing down.
Oh, yeah.
It is really grinding.
Which means some guys are still effective as they get older. Some guys are just.
So you would bet on him to not get it this year?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. And that was game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Dr. Jason Smith, leading orthopedic surgeon, will get some thoughts on Thatcher Demko and what he may be challenged with moving forward, and various injuries around the league, plus some news and notes, including a new captain with the Utah Hockey Club. That and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne. Final hour. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. All right, let's bring him in. Dr. Jason Smith, leading orthopedic surgeon specializing in sports injuries and procedures. Now, earlier this week, Doc, I tried to explain to these guys about this movie I hope you're familiar with, Spies Like Us.
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor.
Where you just start introducing these doctor. So,
Perfect.
Just amuse me for 1 second here. Just let's try to recreate that. So I'll go, you go, and then Justin goes, and then you go, and then Sammy goes, and then you go. Okay? Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor.
Are you
That
happy?
was awesome.
And doctor.
And
That's
doctor.
awesome.
All right, we're here. A bunch of doctors.
How are you? Are you good? We got you? Did we drop you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So, Doc, for those of you that don't know that you've been involved with orthopedic surgery around professional athletes for a long time, you even got to work with James Andrew, the famous James Andrew out of Alabama, with the likes of Bo Jackson. So, I mean, you're very comfortable around what you see on a daily basis, what we see in terms of injuries throughout the National Hockey League. So great to have you on. We're going to get into a few players, not that you're their doctor or that you know what they're going through, but we can generally maybe talk about injuries and how athletes or teams either manage them or, address them. So we will get into that, but just a little background for those that don't know. You played professional hockey. You were drafted by the Calgary Flames in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken, in 1993. And it didn't work out. You become an orthopedic surgeon. If it didn't work out for me, I'm flipping burgers at Johnny's on Victoria Park. How does that happen, first of all?
I always tell kids, you got to have a plan B. You do. But you grow up without a plan B. You grow up, you're going to be a hockey player. You don't really think of a plan B. But, I got lucky. I got the opportunity to play hockey at Princeton. And so for me, making that pivot, from playing pro hockey, I was in St. John playing with the Flames there and got myself a bunch of concussions. And looking back on it, I was like, okay, am I going to keep this going? Am I going to keep grinding, trying to mess with my noodle, or am I going to pivot? And I was lucky I could pivot. I had a degree and I went back to medical school. So for me, it wasn't as hard as, some of the guys that maybe don't have a plan B, like you're saying.
So knees, shoulders, hockey specific, knees, shoulders, for goalies, hips as well. We've seen a couple of big ones here, but I want to start with Demko in Vancouver because he quietly disappeared in the 1st round against Nashville, and nobody was really sure what he was dealing with. He doesn't come back, and then lo and behold, he's not even ready in October. Now, I think the Vancouver province had mentioned that there's an issue with this popliteus muscle.
Yeah, popliteus.
Okay, I've been around the game a long time. I've had major surgery. I've never heard of this before.
Not a real muscle. That's me.
So is this significant enough that it could be the issue here, the complete issue?
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, right, none of these things happen in isolation. So they'll throw you a little nugget. It was the popliteus, which in itself, it's a little muscle in the back of the knee. It helps control rotation. And guys will injure this and it'll heal. But it also really contributes to the whole rotational part of the knee. The knee is not a simple hinge joint. It translates, it rotates. And for a goalie who's always going down, up, butterfly, the rotation is a pretty big part of it. So the popliteus sits right in the back of the knee and helps control rotation. So most of the time in sports, you hear an isolated popliteus injury, you're thinking, 4 to 6 weeks. It's kind of a muscle. It can heal. No big deal. But when you put this on a goaltender who has to play into butterfly position, now you start thinking, okay, this is significant. But like I said, these things don't happen in isolation. I wonder what else is going on, with his knee. And, you had Valley on, and he was saying about, a second knee scope that we didn't even know about. And then he had a knee scope for an unrelated reason this summer. So you don't just think about his popliteus. You think about, there's a lot going on with his knee. And that's what's kind of concerning, is that, 2 surgeries, 1 major injury with a goalie that lives in the butterfly position. That's kind of the context that makes me worry a little bit more than just there's a rare popliteus.
Mm-hmm. And so can an injury like that ever get right? Can it heal? Is it possible? Or is that something that once there's been damage there, it's always going to be a little compromised?
No, they do heal. And a popliteus in isolation can definitely heal. I'll take ligaments over cartilage any day. Ligament strains, ligament tears, these kind of things, they can heal, they can be reconstructed, and guys can get back to normal. So you got to be optimistic with Demko on that. You got to be optimistic that he's just, taking his time, because, this is the time of year to take your time. This is the time of year not to push it. But like I said, I just wonder, is there more going on with this guy's knee than just a little popliteus injury?
Well, we've seen Landeskog now looking at almost being out of the game, 1.5 years, 2 years. Yeah. And there's a lot going on. Some have suggested to me a rebuild of some dynamic, in terms of maybe a cartilage issue. Is there a chance that this guy, being off this long and giving it another whirl, is there a chance that he can come back?
These are Hail Marys, honestly. These big cartilage replacements, like, they're great procedures if you're going to try to walk the golf course and go walk your dog. You can do these big replacements, big chunks of cartilage and menisci and things. But you're replacing a big chunk of cartilage in a guy in his 30s, and you're asking him to go play professional hockey on it. Like, honestly, you think about something like this as a coin flip. If anybody can do it, these guys can. Their health, their nutrition, everything else are adding inside the knee. They're doing so much more than the average person can do. So, he might surprise us and turn out and, have a great season and feel awesome. But you wonder, can he take the grind of the season? Can you take the workload? Can you play 82 games? Colorado, can you play for another 2-3 months in the playoffs? And that's where I worry about cartilage. When you're behind, when you're through a ligament injury, I think you're through it. When you're through a cartilage injury, it's always with you. That stays with you forever. And that's what worries me.
Where's the force, the torque? I don't know what you want to, like, in hockey compared to other sports. Is it actually easier being on skates, or once you're battling in the corners, man, it's tremendous stress.
Yeah, so the skating stride is actually not that hard on the knee, and it's actually great for hockey players that just the daily workload of skating and practicing isn't that hard. The problem is that they got to go battle along the boards, so they got guys leaning on it in all directions and pushing on it in all directions, and that's where the wear and tear comes from. Is they're having to grind, get the puck out of the corner, get hit, fall down. It's not like basketball where you're just, you're running up and down and you're fighting. But I mean, you're falling, you're up and down. You got guys crashing on you. You're getting hit against the boards. That's what worries me with hockey. Not so much the skating, but the battling.
Yeah. So one of the guys, we do the Leafs hour for the first hour, and you're talking about how cartilage issues seem worse. Yanni Hakanpää signed a 2-year deal, or it was said he did, and then it was just 1 year. And the words we're hearing are, and I quote, bone on bone. I don't even know what that means or what bone would be on what bone, but it doesn't sound good, Doc.
It's not us eating a medium rare tomahawk either, right?
Yeah, so bone on bone, what they're talking about is, at the end of your bones on your joint, you got this beautiful layer of cartilage that's nice and smooth, and you walk and it doesn't grind and click, and cartilage doesn't have nerve fibers. So you're walking, you're running, you play your sports, you're not feeling your joint. But as soon as you wear that cartilage away, now you have exposed bone. Bone has nerve fibers. Bone has vessels. Bone bleeds. So you're talking a whole different level. So once that cartilage wore away, that you have exposed bone, that's the end stage of arthritis. That's when guys start talking joint replacements and these kind of things. Now, could it be a couple millimeters that's exposed of bone on bone, or is this a broad area? Like, we're never going to know. But you hear bone on bone, like, man, this guy better be tough because he's going to have pain every day.
So, like, what is realistic then? Like, 40 games, 50 games for someone like that? How do you manage it? What's going to be a typical kind of week for him where he plays, it swells up, you wait for the swelling to go down or the pain to subside? Like, how does he manage this?
Days off, injections, treatment. I mean, this guy's going to be living in the treatment room for sure. All the ice, all the pumping they do, everything they can throw at it, they're going to be throwing at it. And they're going to be watching his workload, like workload and volume. I mean, those are the big things in sports right now, is managing guys' workloads. And they're going to have to watch that very closely. It's going to be the art of hawk and paw, getting them back. Like, it's going to be difficult, but obviously they think he's feeling good enough, and Hakanpää knows his body. He knows what he can grind through, and he's saying, yeah, I'm ready to go. So let's go. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can handle it, or they wouldn't have signed him.
Yeah.
The original diagnosis for Patrik Laine was that he was going to need surgery. They went out and got a second opinion. They seem to think that they could avoid it. So what's the difference maker between, where's that fine line between
was it
surgery
MCL
and
kip
no
with
surgery?
him?
MCL.
Yeah. So the MCL, I mean, ligaments can heal, like we were saying. Like, you blow a ligament completely, the ends aren't even close to one another. Those are the ones that need surgery. We hear ACL tears all the time. The guys are getting those fixed. Those are rare. Those rarely heal. But the MCL, there's certain places that where it tears has a really good blood supply, has a really strong healing potential. And these things can actually heal. So you got to really, baby it. I think they're talking 2 months now, 3 months. So they're being conservative, which they have to be, but they're thinking this is in a location that it can heal. So that's the MCL. So I guess they thought maybe we're looking at surgery, but all these guys, everybody gets a second opinion now, right? It's the agents are driving the bus. The players looking out what's best for him. It's not the Canadians saying, we got to get you back in 6 weeks anymore. It's, the guys and their agents and everyone around them. They're taking it easy. He's not going to jeopardize his career so that he can play, 20 more games in his first season with the Canadians.
So now when you watch these guys, having been a player, and you hear guys like they're going to play through things. I tore my MCL, came back too soon, tore my MCL again. Does it make you kind of like cringe when you hear guys, he tore his MCL, he's back in 4 weeks? Some of those sort of too quick stories.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's amazing that they don't tear them like all the time. Like, watching these guys, you do not want to push this back early. Like, this isn't the playoffs. This is the start of the season. This isn't the time to push. So, different conversation in April. I think maybe you're talking 4 to 6 weeks, but we're talking September, October. You're not worried about it.
On the other hand, do you team doctors sometimes sit in the stands and go, get up, I'm not coming to the dressing room for that.
Fine.
You're soft as baby doo-doo.
No. Player's always right. Patient's always right.
Yeah, that's
man.
right. Yeah.
No way. I would never, ever say that about a player, Kyper.
No. Smart. Very smart. You don't want to lose those 2 tickets, right?
No.
Hey, we really appreciate your time. On occasion, if there's something of significance that we're all going to play doctor on, we're going to bring you back, all right?
Well, we'll get out to Scarborough and we'll talk about it. We'll get a time.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Doc.
That is Dr.
Right,
Jason Smith, one of the leading orthopedic surgeons. Been around a long time and seen a lot.
Certainly has. And
how are you health-wise? How's the body? Because I had a complete ACL
Tip-top.
tear. And
complete ACL
I had major surgery. I had an Achilles tendon, a cadavers in my right knee right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Never broken a bone.
Haunted knee. I have to click my knee into place every morning or else I can't walk.
You do, eh?
Yeah, I got to give it a good snap. And that's not a joke. I actually do that every morning.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at some point I'll be talking to Doc there for some help.
Well, listen, it just gives you another side of what these guys go through. And, to listen to him, especially with, a Hakanpää knee situation, I think it gave us a little bit more of an idea of what this guy may have to do to manage just to kind of stay ready here. And, man, it's tough.
I mean,
give me the
that's way
willies.
to live, man.
What he was saying was give me the willies. Like
it's hard not to be
nerve
like,
endings and
take the insurance money and call it a day, man. That's
why you never ended up in the NHL.
Well, no, it's not because I wasn't good. But when you're in your 40s and in your case, in your early 60s, I'm kidding, 50s.
I know.
You do look back at some of the things you did and go, might want to redo on having played through this or that or whatever.
You think you're going to live forever, and you think that you're going to heal because you're in this
and you're different. You're
window
special. You're an athlete.
Being a fine-tuned athlete.
Yeah.
And then you wake up one day, to your point, when you're 58 and you're like, oh, God, I'm a little stiff right now with the hips and, And the other thing I wanted to ask him, but I didn't get a chance to, is like we're seeing, as we talked about in our first hour, bigger goalies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, the wear and tear to get up and down sometimes, like
that's why it's Tandem City.
It's harder for a bigger guy than it is for 5'10" goalie. I'm sure, like more stress on the body when the bigger you are. No,
sure. Leafs have any big goalies?
Yeah, Stolarz 6'6", 243, doing 100 butterflies a night. That's
so Demko. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in that knee.
You guys made that muscle up in his knee. That's not real.
Well, that's the word, anyways.
Yeah,
it's been described again in the Vancouver province as being a unique injury.
You never want to be unique.
Unique is not good.
No.
You don't want anything named after you. It's something a doctor's never seen before.
No. Speaking of goalies,
Askarov sent down to the AHL from San Jose. San Jose, big trade. They get him from Nashville as the goalie of the future.
Not quite ready for prime time.
They keep Vitek, Vanacek, and Mackenzie Blackwood over him. So they seem to think, maybe not a great showing so far. I'm wondering, and this is pure speculation, if his off-ice habits are not great. If there's something that they're like, this guy, how do you trade for the goalie of the future?
With that roster.
With a bad team
let's just
and not giving games in the league.
Clayton Keller, first captain of
Great.
Utah
making some decisions. How about a name?
Are they going to make the playoffs?
No.
I think they're going to trade picks to get players this year because they want to
Why not?
get in there.
Right? And like half the building can only see like half the ice.
Supposed to be a very nice building.
That's
what you can see.
There's a lot of obstructed views in that building.
They're building a new one for 2034, the Olympics.
All right. Our thanks to Luke Fox in the first hour, Doug MacLean, and Dr. Jason Smith. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. Love to hear from you. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we're back on Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne.